Right now we have a crime scene investigator on the stand. Let's watch together.
All right, for the record, we have State's Exhibit 40. What are we looking at here, Ms. Hiller?
This is an aerial photograph of the area of Johnston Road and Russo Road intersection that I took from a helicopter.
All right, and which out of the two roads we have, call it horizontal and one is vertical, which road is which?
The road that's vertical, that's going off into the distance, is Johnston Road, that's going towards the south. And then the road that's going towards the side of the screen is Russo's Road, and it's going towards the east.
So this road here that I'm pointing at?
Yes.
To the east. I'm going to bring up now State's Exhibit 41. What are we looking at here?
This is the same intersection. Now we're looking towards the north, so that road that's going off towards the right side of the screen is the Russo's Road towards the east, and the one that's short vertically is Johnston Road towards the north.
State's Exhibit 42.
This is an image depicting the intersection showing that it's Johnston Road and Russo Road.
State's Exhibit 43.
This image is depicting Russo's Road looking towards the west, and beyond that tent area that you see is the intersection that was in the State's Exhibit 42, the intersection of Russo's and Johnston Road.
So the stop sign way in the distance, that's going to be Johnston Road out there.
Yes.
And now we have State's Exhibit 44.
This would be on Russo's Road looking towards the east.
State's Exhibit 45.
This is on Russo's Road looking towards the southern side of the road.
State's Exhibit 46.
This is also on Russo's Road, pointing towards the east, where we started to see some portions of the victim.
All right, and so are you able to see where the victim is located in this photograph?
Yes.
Where is that?
The victim is located on the southern side of the road, so that would be the right area of the road in the grassy area, and there's a blue area that's within the green grass. That is the start of the victim.
And what you're referring to is right here in this photograph?
Yes.
State's Exhibit 47. What are you documenting in this photograph?
This is just some of the overall pictures that we tend to take whenever we are documenting a crime scene. This is the victim still looking towards the east. You can see her head is to the east, her feet are to the west, and that's on that southern side of Russo's Road.
Now we have State's Exhibit 48. What do we have here?
This is a photograph depicting the victim on the southern side of the road. I am now in a different position. I'm standing on the road looking towards the south, taking like just the overall picture to document the scene.
State's Exhibit 49, same question.
This would be from the east looking towards the west, showing the overall condition of the scene. You can see the victim still there in the kind of in the center of the picture, and this is looking towards the west.
And we have now State's Exhibit 50.
This is just a closer up photograph of the victim prior to us moving her or doing any examination.
And then we have State's Exhibit 52. What are you trying to show with this photograph?
This is just the overall condition of how we find the victim and how she is looked in the conditions that she was found in.
Did you notice anything in her hands when you examined the victim at the scene?
Well, initially we were only able to see her left hand, which was clenched in a fist. You can kind of see there, and it appears to be grasping something, but we don't know exactly what's in the hand.
So I think we're at State's 52. What are you trying to show with this photograph?
Again, we weren't able to move the victim just yet, so this photograph is just depicting what we can see without moving her. We can start to see from this image that there's some form of injury on her neck. We can see some blood and a little bit of the cut injury that's there.
And what we have now is State's Exhibit 53. How do you guys go about moving a victim at the scene, and I guess what's that process?
I mean, every scene is different. For this particular scene, once the medical examiner investigator arrives on scene, we put a bag, it's a body bag, so that white material that is underneath her up next to her, so that we could roll her directly into that body bag and contain any possible evidence that might be on her backside. And she's just placed there for us to begin our initial examination.
All right. Were there any immediately obvious injuries once you were able to move the victim?
Yes. So in this image, it's depicting the victim. This is exactly how she looked once we rolled her from the ditch area onto her back and into the body bag. You can see there's an injury to the right side of her neck.
And then we have State's Exhibit 54. What are we looking at in this exhibit?
This is a photograph of her right hand, which was underneath her body when we initially arrived. So just documenting the condition of her hand, and it's also closed into a fist and appears to be grasping something, and the hair tie that's on her wrist.
And we now have State's Exhibit 55.
This is more just documentation of the condition that she's in once we take her from the way that we found her, and documenting anything that we see.
All right, we do have to get to our break. They're watching those graphic photos there inside of the courtroom of this victim laying by the side of the road. More of this trial after we come back.
If my wife finds out something like that, oh my God, bro, I'm going to lose everything. Those are the words from the defendant in this case on August 21st, 2018. On August 21st, Tania Wise was a mom. She was 38 weeks pregnant, and she had no idea that this defendant was carefully planning out her murder.
Unfortunately, the profession that Miss Wise was in, a dancer and an escort, brought her into contact with many unsavory characters. You will also learn that Miss Wise had told Bradley Rodriguez Jr. that he was the father of her son. And you will learn that she also told Mark Burke that he was the father of her son. It was in this fraught situation that her untimely demise occurred.
Those are the competing opening statements that we saw in the trial that we are watching together. Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Julia Janae. Thank you for following along with us as we are in Fort Pierce, Florida. A man is facing the death penalty if he's convicted of murdering his pregnant mistress. Jose Soto-Escalera. He is charged with first-degree murder, not only in the death of his 23-year-old girlfriend, Tania Wise, but also their unborn child. She was 8.5 months pregnant. Her body was found in a ditch back in August of 2018. And prosecutors say that the defendant killed Tania after she failed to use money he gave her, $500, to pay for an abortion. The defense, however, believes that it's Tania's profession as an escort that ultimately led to her demise. Let's get you back into the courtroom now. We've been listening to a crime scene investigator, Janine Hiller. She is showing this jury photographs of where the victim's body was found. It's mere feet from the side of the road, not in trees, but lying in the grass. This crime scene investigator is testifying under direct by the state.
State's Exhibit 56. What was the purpose of this photograph?
Again, we're just documenting the hands, the conditions of the hands. She's got her left hand now also is grasping, appears to be grasped. We don't know if there's anything else in there, but it is clenched into a fist grabbing that grass.
State's Exhibit 57.
This is kind of showing a position where we can start to see another injury on the left side of her neck, kind of around her collarbone.
State's Exhibit 58.
And this is just moving in closer to depict that image, or this image depicts that injury that we can start to see on the left side of her neck.
And then we have State's Exhibit 59. What are we looking at in this photograph?
So in the center of this photograph, there is material that we believed that
I mean, we're going to ask more questions to. I know what the objection is.
You're withdrawing the question, asking another one?
Yeah.
Okay.
In your work as a crime scene analyst, have you ever had the opportunity to come across vomit?
Yes, I come across all kinds of bodily fluids to include vomit, feces, urine, blood, saliva, and semen.
Based on your experience and what you've worked with in the past, was there anything significant that you saw in this photograph that you felt you needed to make sure you documented?
While on scene, we observed the material that was in this hole where the victim's face was laying was consistent with bodily fluid that's consistent with vomit. So we documented that along with the blood that was there.
And this area that's in the center of the photograph where you can see a reddish color, where was the victim's head in reference to this?
Directly inside that little concave hole that's holding all of that material, that liquid and the white liquid and the red liquid.
And what was the condition of the victim's clothes when you took her out of the swale on the side of the road?
A majority of her clothing was wet. In some of the photographs, I don't know if you were able to notice, but like the middle portion of her pants were pure dry, but then there was areas where you could see that they were wet. The front side of her was wet. Her hair was wet and matted. And then her clothing especially her top was very wet, and then her face and hair were wet.
What was the condition of the ground where she was found?
So she was kind of in the swale or ditch, so it was also wet. You can see the glimmer of some of the water just below that little hole where you see the white material and the red material, so you can kind of see the glimmer of the water that's there.
So now I want to go with State's Exhibit 60. Looks like we're now starting to see some markers in these photographs. What are these markers?
The cones that you see depicted in this photograph are cones that we place to identify any kind of specific evidence that we wanted to document, because we don't know when we're there, what's important and what's not. So we place markers for evidence that we want to document and possibly collect.
All right, and for cone A in this photograph on State's Exhibit 60, or let me go actually to State's Exhibit 61. What was of significance that you observed for State's, for marker A?
This image is depicting tire impressions that we observed on the ground from the road, which is the left side, onto the grass. So that would be the grass is on the southern side of the Russos Road, and like this image would be towards the east.
And then I'll go with State's Exhibit 62. What is this?
This image is depicting a close-up photograph of those tire impressions that you observed with the photo marker A.
And State 63.
Also depicting that same tire marks with the photo marker A.
All right, now I'm going to move to State's Exhibit 64. And then I'll go up to State's Exhibit 65. What are you documenting in State 65?
This area is, again, on the southern side of Russo's Road, kind of looking towards the southeast. And here is documenting a flashlight and some hair that is hanging from the tree and also on the ground. So the first cone, the one that's closest, I think it's B. That is the flashlight, and the cone further away, more in the ditch, is C, and it's marking hair.
And would this be State 66, a close-up of B?
Yes.
And then we have State 67. It looks like now we've moved on to cone D.
So this is kind of a little bit to the east of that area where you saw B and C on Russo's Road. Again, looking to the east, cone D is marking that mark that's in the ground there right in front of it.
And what I'll do is I'll pull up State's Exhibit 68. What are we looking at in State 68?
Just disturbance in the gravel and the divot that's different than everything else around it.
Yeah, I'm gonna go to State's 69. Are we just showing more markers?
Yes.
State's Exhibit 70. Is this the same thing?
Yes, so this is looking towards the east, kind of marking everything that we're finding directly around the victim, who's in the center of the screen at the top.
All right, we're at State's Exhibit 71. Which marker are we looking at now?
This marker is photo marker number, or letter F, and it's the start of a tire impression that was observed in the grass that goes from the grass area into the dirt on the road and into Russo's Road.
We're gonna go to, looks like we're now looking at marker G on State 71.
So F, G, and H, which we have in a line, you don't have F in this particular image, but is marking that brown area that looks like a tire was driving there.
And are you referring to, I guess, the furthest cone to the left, the brown area that's between those two cones?
Yes.
A lot of those photographs we're not able to show you on air because they are of this victim's body. They're by this road. It's not too far. You can see her through the grass. Let's bring in criminal defense attorney Joanne Nieves, who is with us. Joanne, eager to hear your thoughts on this case. This is a potential death penalty case. If there is a conviction here, and we saw the mother of this victim just emotional when watching this portion of the trial. What are your thoughts on this one?
Good morning, Julia. I think one of the things we need to keep in mind is that it's a death penalty case. So I think what this witness is actually laying out right now is going to contribute to that especially heinous, atrocious, cruel aspect, or the cold, calculated, premeditated nature of the killing. So she's painting this particularly gruesome scene of an 8.5-month pregnant woman discarded on the roadside, laying in her own vomit with hair hanging from the tree. I think this is stuff that the prosecution is going to weave into their closing arguments when they're asking for special findings. And ultimately, we're dealing with the defense pointing to an alternative theory that maybe there were some other men who were the father in her life as an escort because it could have contributed to this. There's more to be seen on how they're going to paint this defense. But I think that the little pieces that we know so far of the defendant's kind of facts against him are not working in his favor.
Yeah, they're in Florida. In terms of the death penalty, some of the aggravators that prosecutors have to use, there's only a handful of them, but heinous and atrocious, cruel and unusual. Those are the kind of words, cold and calculated. Are prosecutors thinking about the penalty phase while they are in the guilt phase? Because this is going to be the same jury if there's a conviction.
Absolutely, absolutely. They want to make sure that the things that they argue are brought out in evidence, right? And so they need to build their case from the very beginning. I think, realistically, prosecutors and defense attorneys are thinking about the closing arguments and the penalty phase at the very outset of the case, so that the way they strategically approach the witnesses they call and the things that they elicit through testimony are to serve them in the end.
Joanna, thank you for that analysis. We're going to get to our break because we're going to go in to hear more from this crime scene investigator on the stand in the case against Jose Soto-Escalera. Stay with us.
Young mother found brutally murdered.
Now the victim's boyfriend, a married father of 4,
is charged for the murder of his alleged mistress and her unborn child.
The Pregnant Mistress Murder Trial. Live coverage today, only on Court TV.
Tonight on Closing Arguments, a married father of 4 faces the death penalty, accused of the unthinkable. We're diving deeper as the Pregnant Mistress Murder Trial gets underway.
Closing Arguments, tonight at 8, 7 Central, only on Court TV.
Was it a married man or an escort client? Let's go back to Florida, where the jury is hearing day 1 of testimony in the Pregnant Mistress Murder Trial. The defendant is Jose Soto-Escalera. He was accused of murdering his 23-year-old pregnant mistress after she reportedly refused to get an abortion. Prosecutors also say that she was threatening to tell Soto-Escalera's wife about their relationship back when she was killed in 2018. On the stand now is a crime scene investigator who's been showing different photos to this jury of this road where the victim's body was found, and she's about to talk about a wrapper that was found and whether or not they could find fingerprints. Let's go back into court for more.
States 73.
This is just the same area documenting all the cones that are within the vicinity of the victim. We're marking the tire impression that's there between G and H, a cup, and some beer cans that were around the victim's body.
I'll go through states 74, and then I'll go to state 75, states 76. What are we looking at in 76?
This is a paper napkin that was on the ground just to the left of the victim's body, a little bit ahead to the east of her head.
Right. As the crime scene investigator, when you arrive on the scene, do you know all the facts?
No.
Most of the time, do you not have very much information at all?
Correct. I don't have a lot of information ever.
So do you collect everything that you see?
Not necessarily everything, but we do a lot of documentation and collect a lot of material from most crime scenes.
So we'll go to States Exhibit 77, States Exhibit 78, States Exhibit 79, States Exhibit 80, States Exhibit 81, States Exhibit 82, States Exhibit 83. The photos that I just went through, what are you documenting in these?
Just all the photo markers and cones, with the exception of I think it was States Exhibit 82 and 83. Everything was on the south side of the road, except for that. This Coke Zero bottle was on the northern edge of the road, but we just document all those cones and all those items so that we know what is there.
So now we're going to pull up States 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93. What are we looking at in this photograph? Cone U.
Let me check my report. That's just a disturbance in the grass area that was noted that it was knocked down and in the dirt. So it was photographed and documented.
All right, we'll go to State's Exhibit 94, State's Exhibit 95, State's Exhibit 96. What are we looking at in State's 96?
This is a photograph depicting photo marker V as in Victor, and it's a condom wrapper that was located close to the intersection of Johnston and Russo.
State's Exhibit W, or State's Exhibit 97, photo marker W. What are we looking at here?
This image depicts photo marker W, also very close to that intersection of Johnston and Russo, and it's a T-shirt that was located on the side of the road.
All right, then we have State's Exhibit 98, State's Exhibit 99. Is this the same shirt?
Yes.
And then we have State's Exhibit 100, State's Exhibit 101, and then State's Exhibit 102. What are we looking at in 102?
This is the area to the west. So standing on Russo's Road, looking towards the west, the intersection of Johnston and Russo, showing the conditions of the weather and the intersection and everything that we see. You can start to see this is more towards the afternoon because there's some storm clouds there in the sky.
So now I want to talk a little bit about the physical evidence that you collected. When you collect physical evidence at a crime scene, what are the other tests that a crime scene investigator can do to those items? Or at least prepare for them to be tested by someone else?
You're asking what will I do with them once I take them from the crime scene?
Yes.
Okay. So once we collect evidence as crime scene investigators, we can take them back to our lab and we can examine them for biological fluids, which would include the blood, saliva, semen, and urine. Anything that might help us with our investigation. We can process it for latent fingerprints. We can collect DNA swabs from it. We can take clippings from it. We can do all kinds of things depending on what the item is.
All right. And are you able to do fingerprint examination?
Yes, I am.
And did you examine items for fingerprints in this case?
Yes, I did.
And did you also swab items for DNA in this case?
Yes, I did.
But this time I want to show you what's been marked for identification. State's Exhibit 7. Do you recognize this item?
Yes, I recognize State's Exhibit 7 as I have labeled it in my handwriting. DNA swabs, top portion of flashlight, PMB.
All right, so you testified earlier there was a photo marker that there was a flashlight that was found in the grass?
Yes.
And did you swab that flashlight for DNA?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and is that what State's Exhibit 7 is?
Yes.
At this time, State would move State's Exhibit 7 into evidence of 7.
No objection.
Got any more comment to evidence of that objection? This time.
Now, I want to ask you some items about, and before I ask you about, did you do fingerprint analysis? How is it that you're able to do fingerprint analysis?
As I said earlier, I'm trained as a latent print examiner. I am a certified latent print examiner through the International Association for Identification. To become a certified latent print examiner, you have to have education. Depending on your level of education, you have to have a certain number of years in the field. For my level of education, I had to have a minimum of 3 years of work experience as a latent print examiner. I have to go through 2 years of supervised casework while I'm in training or doing on-the-job training, in addition to all my classroom hours of training. And that, again, that was over 300 hours. And then once I meet all the qualifications for testing, I have to take a test. It's a 200 question test that I have to get a 85% or better to pass the first portion of the test. And then I have to do a comparison portion of the test, which I have to get 100% and make 13 correct conclusions.
And have you testified in court as a fingerprint analyst before?
Yes.
So in this particular case, did you process 10 separate items that were found on the scene?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and would those include 5 Bud Light beer cans, 2 Budweiser beer cans, a Coke Zero bottle, and a plastic cup?
Yes.
Were you able to obtain anything of evidentiary value from any of those items?
No, I was not.
All right, and what does that mean?
It means that I just wasn't able to obtain fingerprints from those particular items. Latent fingerprints are an unintentional recording or recording of digital or friction-rich skin on your fingers and palms or on the soles of your feet. And those, fingerprints being left can be affected by the conditions of the item when you're touching it. It can be affected by the conditions where they are left.
Not approach.
All right, we've got an objection, so we're going to slip on a break of our own. I can tell you there are so many tears that are falling in the gallery. We're seeing the family of this victim sitting there behind the prosecutor when the prosecutor's asking those questions. Difficult witness to listen to if you're someone who knew this victim.